Hey, welcome one and all to the TFL Podcast. Week 6. Arch, how are you, mate?
Oh, doing well.
That's
How
good.
are you going, mate?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
To be honest, a little bit of a furphy there. Not probably travelling the greatest at the moment.
You've had jab number 2, right?
Jab, Pfizer number 2, and it has smashed me absolutely in the tits. Like, it is bad. I've had fever all night, all day. I'm basically rattling with Panadol at the moment, mate. We're here.
Well done.
Pushing
I
through.
commend you.
Yeah, look, if halfway through I just drop dead somewhere, look, send help. Hopefully my family notices.
Well, fingers crossed. I'm sure you'll be fine. Otherwise, this will go viral for reasons we don't want.
Yes.
Welcome everybody in to the TFL Podcast. We are here to talk some DFS and redraft and all that exists in between. We have been enjoying our time in the NFL season. It's been a good year so far. And of course, guys,
Absolutely.
you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We have a Patreon at the TFL Podcast and our website, thetflpodcast.com. 5-star reviews. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Of course. Please share with your friends and tell them how much you love listening to us ramble and give some advice. Take it or leave it. Hey, we have a Discord channel as well. Arch, that's been doing really well.
It has.
Loving little community there.
Yeah. No, and I think, as we said on Twitter, it's the best way to get better at DFS, isn't it? By chatting, talking through lineups, sending screenshots, and getting pumped up when people you're talking about, win. Because, I might have had a shocker on the weekend, but, yourself and Jenko, couple, did well and got some profit. So, Discord is it's going nicely. Would love to get a couple more people involved.
Yeah, definitely. And how do they join, Arch? Tell them.
Yeah, look, it's just a Patreon type arrangement here, mate. You just need to, patreon.com/the TFL Podcast. Any tier gets into the Discord, and so it starts as low as $2 Australian a month, Rowan. So it's,
that's bargain.
For the chat,
bargain.
the banter, it's well worth it, and we just want to see that little community grow.
Yeah, that's it. No, it's been fantastic. It's been good fun. So let's jump in, Arch, to what's been happening. Let's talk week 5. I'm going to throw to you first. Throw to you first. You tell us what happened for week 5 for you. I mean, we live in Australia. It's a hard time when you have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to adjust for the outs and all that kind of stuff. Talk us through that.
Look, obviously, there was question marks over Dalvin Cook for all week.
Yes,
he was telling us he was going to play, wasn't he? It was that he was good to go, but he wasn't going to be 100%.
Do you ever trust the player? Let's be honest.
No, look, but it was against Detroit, and I got sucked in and left him in. I wasn't overexposed. I'd probably, out of my maybe 40 entries in like one of my micros, I probably had him in about 5 lineups.
Sure.
But, what I didn't have is any of Madison. And I would have pivoted everywhere to Madison, even in my non-Cook lineups. And the reason is my alarm just didn't go off, and I woke up at 4 instead of 3:30 or before 3:30. So I woke up and just immediately started swearing and tilting because I was just dead in the water before it got started. I was like, now if Madison has a good game, we're stuffed. So no, it was not great.
That's brutal. That is not very fun. Bad luck, Arch. That's just it's a painful way to lose money. Really, that's the unfortunate thing. My week, on the other hand, very nice, indeed. And look, we play. Look, I don't play big stuff, right? We are low bankroll guys that are throwing stuff in. But there's a 50-cent comp here in Australia on the Draft Stars website, and I threw 50 entries in, right? It's max 100 entry, and I was like, just 50. I'll put in a bunch of 50 centers, and I hand built as well. That's one of the things that I prefer to do. Like optimizers. Well, firstly, it's not great optimizers for Draft Star, so I have to hand build really.
You do.
Look, it was great. It was a great day. I took out number one. Number 8, 10 even as well. So it was very, very profitable. Going with a Justin Herbert stack with Mike Williams, of course. and running back with Kareem Hunt on the other side. Then had Derrick Henry, Alexander Mattison. I threw in Cortland Sutton as well against Pittsburgh because I was like, who are they going to throw to? Tim Patrick is there, sure, but Cortland Sutton is showing something this year, and I'm really was pumped for him. So I put him in there. They weren't going to get the run game going, so they had to pass it. DJ Moore, busted really with 8.8 PPR points. But the great thing was he was rostered by 26% of the competition, which astounded me a little bit, that's for sure. And then Dan Arnold in there, really handy little a tight end there to give me 10.4 points. So it was a great week. I took top spot by 8 points all up. So that was good fun. So a great little week for me in terms of that. And then I also had a little doubled my money in the the Baltimore Colts game as well. So look, it's been a fun month. I have to admit, Arch, I've been doing very well.
You've had a nice little purple patch, and I couldn't be more happy for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
If I could just have some of the good times coming my way, that'll be great.
Yeah, that's right. Now, if you're on YouTube, you're seeing the fruits of my winnings in that we have now been able to put up a nice little streaming background and whatnot. Yes. So get on that, everyone. That's what we're doing here at the podcast.
Not on the free plan anymore, Rowan.
No, that's right. We are here for the people. We're going to send this all the way out. All right, let's jump in to the Week 6 preview. Let's go.
Oh, yeah! Week 6 preview.
All right, here we go.
Yeah,
let's jump in. This is what it's all about.
Yes.
Let's jump into Thursday Night Football.
Yes.
We've got
my run sheet.
The Bucks taking on Philly, my Eagles, and boy, am I scared for this game because I don't know what Philly's going to be able to do here except lose. I mean, Tampa Bay are 7-point favorites here. Yeah. Anyway, so look, this will be a fun showdown game. Depends like where you're playing, what price Cameron Brate's going to be. I think he's going to be worthwhile looking at. OJ Howard as well, because Gronk is not going to play.
No.
Even though everyone knows it, even though they haven't necessarily designated him out.
You can't put him on your IR yet in season long.
No, you can't. So
they actually hate fantasy football, land, don't they? They do it deliberately.
You think it seems that way. The coaches out there just have no care for the general fan.
To be honest, it's something I'd do. So, fair play.
Yeah, okay, sure. Anyway, in this game, I will be looking to definitely not play Miles Sanders because Tampa's run defense is awesome. And what I would be interested, though, in playing...
Gainwell?
A bit of Gainwell. He's shown that he can catch the ball.
Yep, absolutely. So, he's coming into his own, isn't he?
Yeah, certainly is. And he looks pretty cheap out there in the... At least in the draft stars one I'm looking at here, he's only at 7.6K. So pretty good considering he could easily catch 5 or so passes for a decent amount of yards and potentially find the end zone, as we saw Myles Gaskin do last week. So that's the recipe here. Recipe for success, at least it seems. Just you got to pass. You just got to keep passing.
That's it. Looking at some pricing here, I found it is quite top heavy, and it's hard to sort of fit Brady and Hurts into the same lineup with the Tampa receivers that you want. So you're going to have to get different and cheaper elsewhere. And so I like a bit of Gainwell. Any other cheapies
Tyler
you like?
Johnson? Tyler Johnson. He's the fourth receiver there. Gronk is out. Brate isn't a shoe-in. OJ Howard's not a shoe-in. Tyler Johnson is there as a decent pass catcher. The last couple of weeks, what's he had? 2 weeks ago against New England, nothing. But 3 for 42 last week against Miami. That's pretty solid. 3 for 63 against the Rams. So he's shown something. There's ability there. And so he's pretty much basement price around the board. So Tyler Johnson's a guy there that if you want to push in someone that's going to get you potentially 5 points so that you can maximize your spend elsewhere, then I think Tyler Johnson's a decent way to go about it. Tampa Bay defense is definitely in play here. Jalen Hurts has not dropped out of the top 12 quarterbacks per week at all this year. He's really playing very, very well. But a lot of that's done with the legs, and if Tampa's run defense is as good as we say it is, then potentially they'll put pressure on him to not be able to do that. So causing some turnovers or fumbles or things like that. I can definitely see the Bucks defense being a strong play here as well.
Yep.
Any other thoughts, Arch?
No,
Jalen
I mean,
Reagor?
I guess you need to find some leverage here, don't you? Because there's going to be a lot of popular stacks out there. So potentially a Rager could pop. Bit of Quez Watkins is probably super cheap. So? You want someone, especially that sixth flex, that's super cheap, super different. That's how you're going to be able to climb the leaderboard.
Yep, no, I like that. There's some good picks there. Of course, you can really go with any of the big wide receivers from Philly. I think Leonard Fournette is definitely a very solid pick as well. So I guess my fades, ultimately, Miles Sanders, Jalen Reagor probably fading as well. And Gio Bernard, I probably don't like him on that low end either. So, but yeah, there's some good cheap picks there that you can find to kind of reassort and multi-enter a few teams there, which I'll be doing. All right, next up, let's jump into the main slate.
Oh, no, Rowan.
No?
There's one more game. There's a London game, mate.
Oh, gosh, there is. Of course there is.
Yeah, Jacksonville, Miami, the Battle of Florida in London.
It's so bizarre.
Yes.
It just does my head.
Jacksonville are the London team, basically.
That's true, but why take Miami there? Like, surely you're going to get a massive crowd, a lot of media attention at home, but all right, fine.
Well, the talk is atmosphere over there is like at Super Bowl level, even for these like awful matchups. Yeah, like they're just so thirsty for the action. So
that would be something to go to for sure. Well, okay, who have you got here, Arch?
Another showdown.
You've got another showdown. You've got
not
Trevor Lawrence.
Nearly as sexy.
No,
it's pretty ugly.
Like,
is Tua playing? Is Tua up and about?
He looks like he might be.
He's out of IR, isn't he? So,
well, they designated him to return. So he's been at practice though. So you got to watch that. That's for sure. Either way, I think my favorite play here is probably James Robinson. Yeah, I think he's clearly the guy. I don't like Myles Gaskin. He's too risky. I think he had to be the pass catcher. We know that Malcolm Brown's not going to catch passes. It's Myles Gaskin. So game script meant that Myles Gaskin was the guy last week against the Bucks. But this week against a team that you can definitely run against, I don't know if they'll play Myles Gaskin, even though a lot of people will say he's the best running back on that team. So that's got me a little bit nervous on that. But this is definitely a chance for the Jacksonville offense to, I don't know, get some rhythm and actually play well. So I don't mind favoring the Jacksonville wide receivers here, LaVisca and Marvin Jones. You can definitely play them with Trevor Lawrence. But then, of course, Dan Arnold's, he's shown that they want to get him involved. I can see him catching touchdowns. So I don't mind favoring the Jacksonville when it comes to playing this game.
No, for sure. I think, did you mention Waddle? Do you think he's...
Yeah, I like Waddle. Yeah, for sure. I think as well, if Devontae Parker is still wrestling with injury, obviously, it's Waddle leading the pack with, who was it, Albert Wilson and Preston Williams. That's gross. Yeah. So really, it's Waddle and Gesicki. That's who you're playing. Yeah. I don't know if I want to play anyone else from that side.
You don't. Is there a chance that they've maybe decided to go back to a better Gaskin role that he had last year, and he actually has a bit better, productive workload for fantasy purposes?
Yes. Yeah, for
it's
sure.
a one-game sample size, but, potentially, if that's a sign of things to come, I wouldn't go full fade.
No, that's right. It wouldn't be full fade for sure. I'd be happy to play him in about 40% of my lineups. I think that...
Yeah, 40%, right?
Yeah, 4 out of 10. That's right. Fractions.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, let's jump into the main slate now.
Yes,
how about that?
Only 10 games. Real condensed.
A few teams on bye. What do you got? You got the 49ers.
Moz isn't on.
He's not a fan of the Gaskin train.
From the Sheep Station Dynasty boys. So
yeah, on you, mate. Appreciate you watching. Funny. We are jumping in. We got no Saints, no 49ers. I believe who is that? It. I should have it in front of me. My apologies.
No Atlanta.
That's right. No Atlanta as well.
And someone else.
No New York Jets. Yep. So we got Detroit versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati 3.5-point favorites, which, I mean, I would have thought they'd be more heavily favored here. Is this a Joe Burrow injury thing being baked into the odds here? Because he looks like he's practicing in full. He's back. He looks like he's going to play every snap.
Look, as as nameless as Detroit's team seems to be, they seem to have a bit of fight and want to play for their coach. So potentially they could just keep themselves in it. Then they haven't had the full blowouts that we sort of thought they would. I mean, mind you, Minnesota's offense was pretty poor last week, but
yeah.
but I think they can stay thereabouts, which is what we want. We want a bit of back and forward. So, because I don't mind a little cheeky Burrow stack out of this game with Jamar Chase. He seems to just catch long passing touchdowns every week. So, give me more of that.
For sure. And if you want to get off of that, I don't mind T. Higgins either. Higgins he's coming back from injury. He had a couple of games now, I think, one game where he's coming back and he looks solid. He's playing the role, and T. Higgins is the guy. If Detroit decide to really negate Jamar Chase as much as you can try to do that, then T. Higgins, I think, is a worthwhile pivot off of that. Tyler Boyd, though, looks to be on the outs in terms of the production. So I would be avoiding him. What do you think on the Detroit side? Are you a big fan of DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson? Is it kind of just those two and that's it?
Pretty much. And Hawkinson's been pretty disappointing.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, there's not much else in that offense, is there? So, look, I could see myself easily going to Burrow Chase stack and bringing it home with a Swift because, he's electric. He's probably the most dynamic player on that field. What about a little sneaky one, super cheap, Amon-Ra St. Brown, chance for a little touchdown in this game?
There's always a chance, isn't there? 100%. He's on the way up.
I think he's in the conversation. I think, Detroit's got all of these sort of cheap wide receiver plays that could get there. So that's, Quintez Cephas is he injured or something? Was he his basement price this week?
Well, he just hasn't produced. He had that a couple of weeks with big touchdowns, and then he's kind of gone missing. So
So potentially, if they don't scheme for him, that he could have a chance to be productive. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it was 3 for 38, 4 for 83 against Chicago, which was solid. Yeah. But that's kind of, it's nothing to really win you anything in DFS. That's for sure. I mean, if you're desperate, you can play him in redraft. But that's right. Cephas for collarbone.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
thank you very much.
I love Joe Mixon if he's full to go this week. He is they've really knocked his price down. You can
run against the Lions, that's for sure.
Yeah, his price is ridiculously cheap, especially on DraftKings at $6,400. Yeah. You could fit him into a lot of lineups and that'd be very productive. And P-Ron, he's on the COVID IR, isn't he? So
yes, he is.
So it's pretty
Chris Evans?
Well, I mean, if Mixon's not going, but it sounds like Mixon played last week. I think it's the Mixon show, and so I like that price. Yeah,
I think you can play both running backs from this game, for sure. Let's move on to a more exciting game, that's for sure.
It's been a bit too much time on that
That's one. That's it. Kansas City taking on Washington. Kansas City, highest, 6.5 point favourites. 55.5 point huge. Total. It's massive. It's an exciting game. You really can play so many pieces here.
Yes.
The obvious stack, of course, is Mahomes with either Hill or Kelsey, and you can't go wrong there. Kelsey's only $7K as well. Like, that's on DraftKings. That's really solid compared to DraftStars, where he's 15,600. Like, that's
still kind of cheap for what he brings to the table.
That's the equivalent of sub 8K still. That's for sure. But 7K on DraftKings, he's going to be played everywhere. You think he's going to be very chalky.
Yeah. The thing I've been noticing this year is that it doesn't seem to have a Hill and Kelsey blowing up in the same game.
No, that's right.
So potentially it's Hill and Mahomes, and that's it on the Kansas side of the ball. Potentially a Darrell Williams you could throw in there this week because he's should get a lot of work, but. There's a lot of salary going into Hill and Kelsey and Mahomes if you're going to put all three, and I just don't think it's worth it, considering we just haven't seen all three pop together.
No, that's true. I think it seems funny to think this, but it almost feels like it's easier to wipe out Hill from a game than it is to wipe out Kelsey. Just from what we've seen. There's been a couple of games where Hill just hasn't quite managed to be great. He's had amazing weeks, right? Against Philly, he was phenomenal. But Kelsey is consistent. He's someone that you can bank on. So he's a great cash play, Kelsey.
Yep.
Hill, though, of course, is is the GPP play. You kind of want to push him through.
And I think with GPPs, if you win a Kelsey, trying to pick one of the Kansas City, other receivers that they've got there, like whether you go, dare I say, a Josh Gordon, Rowan.
I don't.
They wanted to give him more of the ball. I don't know. There's something about he's pretty dynamic still. But would you go a Mecole Hardman potentially to get a bit of a long touchdown? He seems to be quite involved.
I mean, you can. I still find it very hard to trust anyone in that. I mean, that's a dart throw for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. I'm talking about GPP dart throws here.
I mean, look, he's sitting there at 4,200 on DraftKings. That's pretty decent to be able to kind of throw there and just as a cheap third wide receiver there. So I don't mind that. Same on DraftStars at 9,300. Like that's cheap.
Yep.
That's pretty cheap. But
had 12 targets last week.
Yeah, that's big.
That's reasonable.
But the thing is, my question here, honestly, is will they need to throw that much? Like I understand the defense has been absolutely poor.
Yeah.
But Washington, I don't know. I'm not sure. Terry McLaurin has to have a big game. If this is how I'd probably run it. If I was playing Terry McLaurin as a mini stack, I don't know if I'd be playing Heineke in this game. If I'm playing McLaurin, then I'd probably bring that back with a Mecole Hardman. Because if McLaurin's doing well and the team's doing well, then potentially Mecole Hardman comes back and plays solid.
Yep.
So I don't mind.
Yeah,
that.
look, there a lot of the chatter is that Heineke is a good play this week because of the Kansas City defense. But you're saying you're not quite convinced that it is going to be there, that they'll be able to stop Washington.
He's erratic. That's my worry. That's the worry. So
and
McLaurin
outside
can do well.
Ricky Seals-Jones as a little tight end punt.
I don't mind it. I mean,
did
where is
okay
he?
last week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's still there at 3K on DraftKings.
They've pumped him up to 8 on DraftStars.
Yeah, I'm probably going to avoid him on DraftStars.
No, avoid him on DraftStars, absolutely.
Big time. So, no, I don't mind that. Darrell Williams, I think, is a great play, as he is in redraft, as he is everywhere. So, Darrell Williams actually, I feel like shows, I don't know what it is. He shows a bit more burst sometimes than CEH. Yeah. So, if he gets the opportunity, he might do pretty well with it. Anyone else here you want to talk
about? What about Adam Humphries, Diami Brown? If Washington were able to light it up against a poor defense, I think those two are perhaps names just to keep it, around like super cheap. And there's no Curtis Samuel,
no
Logan Thomas.
Adam Humphries is my favorite, probably of the two. I think he's got a
3,400 on DK.
Yeah, it's solid. You can roll with that, definitely. All right, well, I think we just love the stacks here, for sure, for Kansas City. And, hey, if you like Heineke, then go for it. He could sling it. He could. Minnesota at Carolina. We got Minnesota's 1-point favorites in this game and a 46-point total. This is a really intriguing game for mine, especially if McCaffrey's there. It looks like he's going to play, so it's leaning that way. He is priced up on DraftStars, but only 8.8K on DraftKings. That's nice. That's a good play for what he can bring to the table, as we all know. So Christian McCaffrey is a little bit of a lock in a cash game, I think, if you're going to swing that way. Dalvin Cook is the other question mark, though. He's obviously got a lot of question marks around his health. At 7.7K, again, if you get a healthy Dalvin Cook, 7.7K on DraftKings is phenomenally good value.
Yes.
Even at 15.8 thousand on DraftStars, that's great. So, what Dalvin Cook are we getting here, Arch? That's the big question.
Well, that's it. And they didn't seem to use him like they were using Madison. Like, why don't you use Cook how you used Madison last week? So I don't know, but potentially the offense is just not hitting its strides at the moment. Maybe that is because Cook hasn't been out there, or maybe Kirk Cousins is just he's a bit streaky there, and he's had a strong start and he's sputtering a little bit. But this is a chance for. You could see this game going both ways, couldn't you? You could see this both offenses struggling, and we get a low scoring affair, hits the unders, or they have the capability to really air it out, don't they? They've both got solid wide receivers that could hit. Could go either way, Ron. I'm going to sit firmly on the fence.
Well done. I don't mind going back to DJ Moore this week. After a dud week last week, people are going to be off of him. He's a guy that is going to get pummeled with targets. If they can't get the ball moving on the ground, then DJ Moore...
Are you stacking him with Darnold, or you're happy for him to just fit in on his own?
Probably more likely to fit him in on his own. Darnold is a bit of an enigma, but with McCaffrey back, then you might get a lot of cheap yards. Yep. You might crack that 300 bonus just simply because McCaffrey's back in the side. So at 6K or 6,100 on DraftKings, at 12.7K on DraftStars, like he's decently priced, Darnold. So, and of course, we've seen him get in the end zone with those rushing touchdowns as well. So, look, it's a tricky one to pick. I'd probably just lean more on just more than the stack.
And we've stopped seeing KJ Osborne sort of get the targets and snaps that we were seeing early in the season. Are we sort of off him as a cheap wide receiver play?
Yeah, I'm definitely off him. I think you need both Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Justin Jefferson has been great, for sure. Adam Thielen, though, has dropped off the face of the earth, it seems. So if Adam Thielen can't even get it going, then I can't expect Osborne to really step into that. No. Conklin is also there competing for those targets. So it's that third receiver spot is a tricky one, and if Dalvin Cook's back on the side, even with Madison in the side, they've shown that they don't want to pass it too much. So again, I think I'm avoiding that third wide receiver in Minnesota most of the time. Yep. But yeah, all right. Chuba Hubbard would be a valuable play, obviously, if McCaffrey doesn't get up. You got to focus on that. Lock him in. Yeah, definitely. Robbie Anderson, he's done.
Yeah, look, he's had, one half-decent game, but, I mean, the price is just that awkward pricing. It's sort of the same as how we're probably feeling about Allen Robinson last week, where the price was tempting, but then it's like, well, I'm not really getting any return for that anyway, so we can look elsewhere.
For sure. Next up, you got Indianapolis taking on Houston. It's a 43-point total, so it's going to be a little ugly. Indianapolis, though, are 9.5-point favourites. The big question here, Arch, Davis Mills, is he worth anything? He's 5.2K, 9.2K on DraftStars. Like, he's super cheap. He put up a good score, 300 yards and a few touchdowns last week.
Yeah, like, what's the bonus
there? Yeah, that's nice. So, is there anything there?
Well, we saw the Colts give up a lot of points last week, albeit against Lamar Jackson, though. So, it's real Jekyll and Hyde type stuff, isn't it? Like what are we going to get? I'm not going to play him.
No,
just
be fun to watch.
I hope he does well. Good wishes sent his way from me. Michael Pittman, are you happy? What do you think about him?
I think he's a gun. I love him. He's so good. I think
only 5,500 still hasn't been bumped up at all on DK.
I think he's a great player on DraftKings. I really do. This is a team that's going to get. I think what we saw last week against the Ravens was a very solid game. Carson Wentz looked really good, looked healthy. And especially in the first half, and you saw Pittman, you saw Jonathan Taylor just rip big plays. Oh man, Pittman was a man in his touchdown catch. That was awesome to watch. Yep. So, big fan of what Pittman can do, and I think he'll be fantastic. He's the number one target on that team for sure. So Michael Pittman, I think, is a safe play. I don't know if you want to play Carson Wentz in this game, just in terms of how they might not need to really get too much going. But Jonathan Taylor, I think, is also a really solid play here. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the clock out. Nyheim Hines in the last couple of weeks has been nothing. So you're looking at Jonathan Taylor here as a guy that's really coming into 2021 saying, no, I'm the guy. Play me.
So the one thing that I'm looking at here on is I always like to fill out my lineups with some real punt players so I can get up elsewhere.
Sure.
And so the Colts seem every week to just dangle Zach Pascal and then Paris Campbell in front of me. They're definitely a shout to get you enough return for that salary, aren't they?
I mean, Campbell was really solid. This is his first solid game.
6,800 on DraftStars. That's pretty good, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Zach Pascal, I think, though, is still my preferred play. He's only 6K on DraftStars, 4,400 on DraftKings is a bit more expensive, obviously. But Zach Pascal is a touchdown threat every week.
Yep.
Like Wentz looked to him for those touchdowns in weeks 1 and 2. And so if you're going for that cheap player, you want a touchdown. I think Zach Pascal is in line for a touchdown. The Colts could put up 30 points here, and 4 touchdowns to go around. I think Pascal's in line could be in line to catch one, that's for sure. So if you're going to take that kind of play, Pascal's still my favorite for that end zone, the red zone threat. So that's where I'd go with that. Brandon Cooks I actually like in this game as well. I know... we saw that I can't remember his name, the number 2 cornerback went down against the Ravens, and the defense started really to kind of fall apart in that second half. So Brandon Cooks, again, could step up into that high target role and reward those who want to take the punt on him. He's only 11,000 on DraftStars, so I think that's pretty nice for what he can do. He can put up a 20 plus PPR point game. So Brandon Cooks is a sneaky play here that's not going to be taken much by the field, I think.
Yep. Just can we go back? Obviously, I've got stats out at the moment. Just back to Paris Campbell, 6 targets, 4 receptions last week. At 10 air yards per target. So there's some nice numbers there for 6,800 and 3,400. My goodness, on DraftKings.
Yeah, I like him more on DraftKings, that's for sure. Don't mind that at all. Anyway, next up, we got the Giants taking on the Rams. Rams are 10-point favorites.
Yep.
I don't think you can play any Giants from this game with any sense of security. Golladay is out. Sterling Shepard, it would be interesting to see if he gets back off of that hamstring. Darius Slayton's not going to come back from that hamstring, it looks like. Devontae Booker is 9,000, though. And he'll take that Saquon Barkley role.
Yes. But
the question is he good enough? Because from what we've ever seen of him as a starting running back, has been very bad.
Yeah. But, he's, ran 23 routes. He's has some targets. Like, he's involved. Obviously, he's not going to be Saquon, but I think he's definitely worth a shout at a cheap price.
For sure. He will allow you to get great elsewhere in your lineup, that's for sure.
But so as I was sort of playing around with some of my, lineups and stacks, I can definitely see myself. I love Henderson's value here this week. And then to just pair him back with a Tony on the other side, I think Tony's just that electric that we see those little mini correlations with those receivers and the opposition's running backs. And I think that potentially is a nice little pair this week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tony, look, he's coming out of that draft where the Giants were criticised heaps for taking him so early.
But the worst thing is that Urban Meyer is kind of being proved right in this as well. That's the tragedy.
That is a tragedy. Big time. Oh, dear. Anyway, on the Rams side, though, you can play anyone. I think Cooper Kupp is a solid play.
Yes.
Robert Woods.
You think?
Yeah, I do. But Robert Woods is good. Whether they need him or not, that's the question.
Yeah, so it's like the team wanted to make a point last week, wasn't it? Because everyone's like, "Oh no, Van Jefferson's taking the Woods role." It's like, "Oh yeah, you think so?" Bang. But then on Van Jefferson, hasn't he? He's down in price now. I think he's still a touchdown threat. Same with Deshaun Jackson. You can't sort of ignore these guys that can just catch a deep ball, get a touchdown, and for the price. It's that, punt play coming up Bonza. Looking for a word, right. And that's how I landed on Bonza for some reason. Never said Bonza in my life.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, he's 2 games removed from a 6 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown game. Don't forget that he can be involved. That's for sure. So Van Jefferson is definitely one to consider if you're looking down that way.
Now, Rowan, we've had 2 weeks in a row. John Ross has scored a touchdown.
I'm not banking on a third. I can't bank on a third. I'm not against the Rams. Against the Rams.
If he doesn't get there at 6K, doesn't hurt you too much, but yeah.
Well, he has to catch something though.
He does.
You can't have 0 points sitting in your lineup. Goodness me. Anyway, all right, let's.
What did he do? He was.
I can't remember.
He had 5 targets. One reception for 5 targets.
Yeah, see, look, nothing bankable. there whatsoever. All right, let's move off this game and let's talk about our friends here can win some money. So look, like I said before, week 5 was fantastic. We're going to run it back for week 6 with our friends at DraftKings, of course.
Yes.
This week, all users will have their shot at $1 million, of course, in their big Millie Maker, plus plenty of other contests as well with absolutely massive prizes. So head on to DraftKings. Here's how it works, guys. 1, sign up for your DraftKings account. 2, make a first-time deposit. Enter your favorite contest. 3, choose your players while staying within the $50,000 cap. 4, follow the action and take your shot at glory and massive prizes. That's what it's all about. What are you waiting for? It's time to take on the competition, us, and take your shot at $1 million US. Just go to, you can see it on the screen if you're watching, dkng.co/TFL. to sign up and get started. That's dkng.co/TFL. These are global contests. Entry fees and prizes are in US dollars, not available to residents of South Australia. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. Gamble responsibly. Think about your choices. Call Gambling Help 1-800-858-858. www.gamblinghelponline.org.au. Eligibility restrictions apply. See au.draftkings.com for details.
Beautiful. Hey, Ron, do you want to get better at DFS?
I'm pretty good, but sure.
Oh, yes, there he is. Well, if you're not sure how you want to get better, we've got a way. One of the best ways to improve your ROI, you son of a bitch, is to join a thriving DFS community. And look, we hope to provide just that with our Patreon Discord server. Share thoughts, discuss your process, share screenshots, and ask a heap of questions. Hey, look, we're all in this together. We're all learning. So let's join up and grow together. We'll even share our cash game lineup of the week on there. To get in on the action, all you need to do is join our Patreon at patreon.com/the TFL Every tier is eligible, Rowan, with tiers starting at just $2 Australian a month. That's nothing, Rowan. For less than the cost of a cup of coffee, come join us at patreon.com/the TFL.
Wonderful.
No worries.
Let's get moving. This is one of my favorite games this week. It is
Yes.
the Chargers taking on Baltimore. Baltimore 2.5-point favorites, 51.5-point total. We saw last week against the Browns what this Chargers offense can do in a quarter and put up 20 points. So huge, man. Obviously, won me some money last week, so I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler and what they can do. This, though, is probably more of a Baltimore game in the sense that the Chargers D is a run funnel defense. We've heard Brandon Staley talk about how they'll let them just run, and they'll let them run, and then they'll eventually stop on a third down, and that'll be enough, and they'll call it back, and they'll trust the offense to win on the other side. And Lamar Jackson is a running machine. We know this. This is a game where you can play Lamar Jackson with no one.
Yes,
you can play him
naked, as they call it.
That's exactly right. Bare bum Jackson. It's how you can play this game. So Lamar is set for a QB1 performance overall for the week. I think Lamar Jackson is huge, and then you could run it back with Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, by the way, his target share is huge. He's just not quite getting. He's not hitting the end zone, all that kind of stuff. Keenan Allen might be his week. I think. He's the big play. Mike Williams obviously more expensive, or probably more rostership for Mike Williams. So I love Keenan Allen here. Marquise Brown is still sub 12K or sub 6K on DraftKings. Like, haven't we seen enough to know that Marquise Brown is a week in, week out top 5 wide receiver threat? Like, he has been on fire with Lamar. So if you're going to throw someone in there, chuck in Marquise Brown. He is. He's been absolutely killing the competition.
Yep. And Mark Andrews on DK has same sort of thing. I think everyone's still got their 2020 goggles on, thinking that Baltimore don't throw the ball. That's how they're winning. That's how Lamar is
400
throwing.
yards, mate. Yeah, Monday night for Lamar.
It's ridiculous. So there are yards to be had here, and so Mark Andrews at 5,200. That is too cheap.
Very much so.
The drawbacks of releasing your prices before Monday Night Football. Obviously, Draft Stars have adjusted because they are very, very, very late to release their prices. Too late, I'd say, Ron. Barely could even look at the prices before our podcast. Yeah, I'm having a whinge. Sort yourselves out, Draft Stars.
We're probably the only ones putting pressure on them, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, look, whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Says the guy in the DraftKings hat. Here's something to think about. Rashad Bateman. There's talk that he might be back this week.
I'm not
to make a little bit of a debut.
I know people love him a lot, and people were comparing him to Jamar Chase and all that kind of stuff, but I just can't get on board yet with a rookie wide receiver that's been injured throughout the season and coming back.
Yeah,
I know he's basement price, but I think there's better.
Not first week back.
No, I'm not going to take the shot. I'm just that's me. I'm not going to risk it on someone that
I'm
never
more
seen play NFL football.
I'm more interested in the another Baltimore wide receiver at 6K who just happened to have an 87.7% snap share.
It was Devin Duvernay?
That is Devin Duvernay. He was on the field all the time. And so when you're on the field, you have a chance to score. And so the targets weren't there. It was only, 4 targets. Not probably what we want to see out of that snap share, but he's out there. So
he is.
For 6K, that's someone who could absolutely get you somewhere.
Yeah, I don't mind that. On the other side, I love a Justin Herbert stack.
Yes.
You can run it back with Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. I'm a big fan of playing that this week. Justin Herbert is matchup proof at the moment.
Yep. Are you scared off by ownership to go a Herbert Williams stack this week, or do you think you can get different elsewhere enough to still have a few of them?
I definitely still have a few of them. We saw the potential to what they can do, and if they're highly owned and they go off again, then you need to be on board.
Yep.
You have to make it happen. So because there's the potential of them both being the QB1 and wide receiver 1 for the week, then you're going to go for it.
Yep.
Of course you have. But probably I'll be lower than the rest, maybe. Like I said, Keenan Allen, I think, is a great pivot off of Mike Williams this week.
They're not using the Chargers tight ends, are they? Like, it's the very low. Like, Cook only had 3 targets out of that game. Parham had 2. He got the touchdown, I think, last week, and so
Parham did have a touchdown, which
pretty
was
hard to sort of know which one to go to.
Yeah, I think I'm not ever going to bank on a second string tight end getting 3 touchdowns in a row. I'm going to avoid that.
Yeah.
Jared Cook, though, on the other hand, I don't know. I think he's a guy that you can trust a little bit more. I know it was 1 for 29, but he is a big play tight end. Like, he's a guy that will push down the field and get you 30 yards on a catch. So 6 for 70 and 1 against Las Vegas, right? So if they need to turn to him, they will do it. I don't think they're afraid to do that. So I think they trust their offense enough to be able to use it. So you can mix and match, I think, with these guys. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Next up, we got Chicago taking on Green Bay. It's a 44.5 point total. Green Bay are 4.5 point favorites. Is there anyone here that excites you? Because I am, like, aside from Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, I just don't know if I want to play anything here.
So I'm just looking at my spreadsheet. It's got Dallas and New England players at the top of that for some reason, so I'm just confused at what I'm looking at.
Oh, yeah, that's what
But, yeah, look, Devontae Adams is, he went off, but Rodgers didn't quite go off with him, did he?
No, he didn't.
So, yeah, it's
because the touchdowns weren't there. And Devontae Adams is struggling to find the end zone, it seems, but he's just putting up monstrous numbers in terms of receptions and yards. So it'll come. Don't worry about that. So if Devontae Adams has his week and has a couple of touchdowns this week, then you want Aaron Rodgers because those are going to be part of his score as well. So I'm not afraid of an Aaron Rodgers Devontae Adams stack, but it is expensive. I
think if you've got a real large field type tournament going on, I think Lazard's worth a shout as someone who could just pop up for a touchdown as well.
Yeah, that's true. For sure. Marquez Valdes-Scantling still out of it, definitely. So Randall Cobb as well, potentially. He's been favoured a little bit, but he's inconsistent as well.
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney's probably the only one I'm really thinking about when it comes to the Bears, but because he's cheap, he's a sub 10K. So
yeah. But the Chicago offense, I think we just move on, really.
Yeah, let's go. Cleveland take on Arizona. This is a much more exciting game, and we've got a 49.5 point total. Cleveland are 3 point favorites. again, Chubb and Hunt are just killing it on the ground, which means that I don't know if I can trust Baker Mayfield stacks at all.
Yeah,
I'm avoiding that, really. You can't pick Odell Beckham Jr., you just don't know if he's going to be the guy. You don't know if Rashad Higgins is going to be the guy, or Njoku's going to be the guy, or Austin Hooper's going to be the guy in the air. So someone will do well, but if you can hit on it, then I think you're just you're getting lucky, really. Yeah. The other side of the ball is where it's at.
Yes.
These guys need to throw the ball, and they'll throw it willy-nilly. DeAndre Hopkins, 14,000 on DraftStars, 7.8K on DraftKings. So he's much better play on DraftStars, that's for sure. But where are you sitting with this? Do you like a Murray stack here?
Look, obviously there's a fair bit of salary in those top two guys, and Hopkins has been fairly disappointing, but you want to potentially, he's a low ownership stack here because of the price and the performance that, Hopkins just hasn't been, the dual touchdown threat that we sort of hope to see each week. So I don't mind them two with a Chubb bring back there. But Rondale Moore is someone that intrigues me still. I think that they want the ball in his hands. I think he's dynamic. So we just want to see more of that getting used. AJ Green's always, he's on the field running routes, so there's a chance he gets there at a very, nice, low price of 7,600 on DraftStars. So there's definitely pieces there if you want to sort of jump off Hopkins, or I wouldn't go too heavy on the stacks with Hopkins and another pass catcher. I'd probably only choose one with Kyler. I don't know, what's your thoughts? Yeah,
no, I agree. It's a tricky thing to read each and every week when they're playing 4 wide receivers.
No Max Williams though now, so that potentially changes things. Maybe you see a bit more more around the line of scrimmage.
Potentially. Or do you think Chase Edmonds gets a couple more targets? Because often running backs get those missing targets.
Yep, for sure. But Rondale Moore's not that traditional wide receiver role. I think they're trying to work with him, and I think most of his targets seem to come behind the line of scrimmage. And
that's true.
If Kyler, I think, struggling a little bit with his shoulder as well, might not air it out as much. Rondale Moore could be a good little play.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that. I think you've got them all sitting between 5K and 4,600 on DraftKings, and then all between 7 and 7.6 on DraftStars. Like, they're just so tightly grouped that you really can pick any one of them. And I think they're those kinds of guys that you can take a punt on as your wide receiver 3 in your lineup, and hope that this game gets going and one of these guys catches a touchdown or not. So it's a hard one to read, a really hard one to read, but all of them have potential, and I think but we're just not going to see all of them hit all at once, that's for sure. So on the other side of the ball, though, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, obviously killing it. Kareem Hunt at 6,200, I still feel is cheap. Like, Kareem Hunt has just been like a top 5 rusher this year. Yep. Like, he's killing it, and yet he's being so undervalued, particularly on DraftStars at 11,500. Like, that's just crazy. So Kareem Hunt, I think, well, he won. He was my bring back on the Justin Herbert stack last week, so I'll mention that again. But like, he's a guy, he's going to catch the ball as well. Like, he's a PPR. He's a PPR running back. I don't see why he's priced so low.
Yep. No, I agree with you.
All right, next one. We've got Denver taking on the Raiders. Raiders have got all sorts of issues going on for them right now. No need to talk about that side of things here. This game is going to 44-point total. It's ugly. It's a game that I'm not very keen to watch. It's going to be two defenses kind of going at it, I think. Darren Waller needs to step up, though.
Yes.
He is not performing anywhere near what we know he can. 19 targets in week 1. Yes. My goodness. That's a long way away. That was ages ago. So I don't know if I'm going to pay up for Darren Waller this week at tight end.
Yep. Well, the whole team scares me. What Las Vegas Raiders are we going to get? Like, how much philosophical differences are we going to see? Is Josh Jacobs going to be used the way we all hoped he would be used now that Gruden's gone? That's something to keep an eye on, and potentially worth, at 9,500 on DraftStars.
It's pretty tasty.
It's worth taking the shot in a few lineups, because if he hits, doesn't he? And so, no, it's real interesting. It makes me nervous, though.
Oh, for sure. I think if the Raiders win, then Josh Jacobs would be a solid play here for that price.
Yeah,
so
they have to win for him to be good.
Yeah, that's true. On the other side of the ball, though, you've got Cortland Sutton at 12K on Draft Stars, 6,200 on DraftKings. We've seen what he can do. Even in this, like, they're a low pace of play team, but Cortland Sutton has shown that he is a alpha wide receiver, and he is making big plays. So against Las Vegas, Cortland Sutton has room to move here to be a 20-point plus PPR play. So I like that from Cortland Sutton. I think he's always very solid. The other side of the thing is that Tim Patrick is still the second wide receiver on that team.
And still so cheap.
So cheap. 5,100 on DraftKings isn't so cheap, but that's still reasonable. But on Draft Stars here for the Aussies, 6,600.
They just forget that. He went down, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He was like 9,000 last week. Like, he didn't have... Like, it wasn't a great game for him for sure, but he's still around. He's still around the mark. So, no, when I look at Tim Patrick...
9 targets last week. Come on.
Like, that's crazy. Seriously, everyone.
40 routes.
Sorry, he had put up 15.9 last week. What am I saying? The week before, it wasn't so good at 6.9. But 15.9 PPR points, like 7 for 89.
Yeah. His 25% target share.
You're
getting a 25% target share at 6,600 on Draft Stars.
Like, that's stupid pricing. That's stupid pricing. And I understand. Last week was against Pittsburgh, so Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams weren't doing much. But still, against the Raiders...
What do you think about the Denver running backs? Where are we sitting with them? Gordon's not training again.
He'll play. He's old. He's getting the veteran DNPs at practice. Like, that's what we're seeing here. Javonte Williams will take the role next year. Melvin Gordon is doing enough in games to be worth playing for the team. So there's no reason for them
we don't play him for DFS.
Exactly. Don't play either of them. Watch for the Javonte Williams breakout, then play Javonte Williams because he'll gradually grow in price then. But anyway, Noah Fant, I feel like it's still too expensive at 10K.
It's just a little awkward, isn't he?
It is awkward. Next up, we've got the last game of the slate, the Patriots taking on Dallas. And the Patriots, I can't trust anyone there except maybe Jacoby Myers as a PPR play. I think he's fairly safe. 5,500 on DraftKings, that's fine. Like, they're going to throw the ball. They're throwing the ball more than we expected. That's for sure. But again, we're watching them coming off of against Tampa and whatnot. Dallas, on the other hand, though, is this a Zeke Pollard game or is it a wide receiver game? Because that seems to be the way these things roll at the moment. You're not getting the massive highs from CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper when Zeke and Pollard are owning the ground.
That's it, and they're proving quite the good 1-2 punch. The only receiver with above a 20% target share was Dalton Schultz last week. So it seems that it's really spread out there. Everyone was calling for the CeeDee Lamb breakout last week, and he didn't blow us away, but he didn't sink lineups either. But
no.
I think he's someone who potentially is worth a look, maybe more on DraftKings. He's a little bit cheaper. Same with Amari. I think Amari Cooper's someone that's going to get overlooked and will have pretty low ownership.
This is the interesting thing with Lamb. Like, he caught 7 and 8 catches in the first 2 weeks, and then it went 3 catches, 2 catches, then 4 catches and a touchdown last week to really salvage it. It's 4 for 84 is pretty good, but the touchdown makes it worthwhile. He's only at 13.7 on Draft Stars though, which is kind of nice. But again, that level of catches is worrying, and I don't know if against New England they're not going to need CeeDee Lamb or Cooper to necessarily take 5, 6, 7 catches. Again, like you're saying, Dalton Schultz has been really solid as the main tight end there, and then you got Zeke and Pollard. So unless New England can somehow put up a really solid run defense, which they haven't shown, then I don't know if we're going to get these Dallas wide receivers doing much. No.
And you can't really trust too much on the other side of the ball there, running backs, can we, with New England? That's Harris is, he fumbled and is in the doghouse, and Ramondre Stevenson's just not quite there yet to sort of trust. Yeah, it's pretty much Jacoby Myers. Hunter Henry potentially, but his price is now pushing up and has been a little bit awkward as well.
Yeah, I don't mind Hunter Henry as a tight end because I don't think we've really seen any other tight ends that we want to trust in this slate. I mean, Gesicki, Dan Arnold, probably the other two. But they're in a showdown, so you can't even play them. So Hunter Henry is probably one of the guys that I'll probably look at more often than not, though, because of what else is out there. It's not great for tight ends
slate
this week.
No, and so potentially you're going to see a lot of lineups pushing up for Kelsey, I think, because they don't want to have to look elsewhere.
For sure. All right, that's the end of the main slate. You got 2 primetime games here. You got Seattle taking on Pittsburgh, 42.5 point total. Geno Smith is the quarterback here. Again, we've seen that you can throw on Pittsburgh because they're going to stuff you on the ground. So even with Geno Smith, I don't mind DK and Metcalf, and I don't mind Tyler Lockett here. So if you're going to play that stack, I mean, it's risky with Geno Smith, of course, but you don't want to play Ben Roethlisberger, do you? Because he's been awful as well.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a showdown, and generally optimal lineups have quarterbacks in them, so you're going to play him.
This could be different, though. This could honestly be different. You could see Pittsburgh defense just taking over here.
But Geno can throw, and he's a vet. He's not going to be blind, deer in the headlights type situation. I think he'd be okay to sort of service Lockett and Metcalf. Didn't see much out of the backup running backs with Carson out, did we? So
no, it was against the Rams though. So tough one. But
saw a lot more DJ Dallas as
the game went on.
Yeah, instead of instead of Travis Homer. So potentially he's ahead there. Like I think.
Collins is still the clear one though.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
It was 70% snap share or something like that.
But I mean, Carson could be back this week anyway, couldn't he?
He could be, but a chronic neck injury never sounds good.
No, it doesn't.
So we'll
but Deontay Johnson,
love Deontay Johnson, especially with Juju out. Deontay Johnson is PPR god now.
And Najee Harris, my goodness, he is going to go off, I think, as well.
I think he's going to have a field day. So I love those two. Last game for the week is Monday Night Football. We got Buffalo taking on Tennessee. The big question here is AJ Brown. Will he get back into the heights of top 24 wide receiverhood or not? Last year he had that injury and he came back against Buffalo and had a great game against Buffalo. So AJ Brown's got every chance. Julio Jones is an interesting play here if he gets up. I think so.
I think he had a limited practice this week? Did he?
I believe he's on the way back. He's a shot. He's a shot for Monday Night Football. He's got all the time in the world.
Can Sanders keep the good times rolling?
There's no reason to say why not.
Well,
he seems to be being favoured over Beasley at the moment.
Well, yeah. Well, and also, but Diggs wasn't super productive last week either, though. So you sort of hope Diggs sort of takes over again.
I think he has every ability to. Diggs should be that. So, look, you're playing Derrick Henry here. You're playing Diggs on the other side. Josh Allen should have an absolutely monster game again. There's nothing stopping Buffalo winning this game. I think they'll blow out the 5.5 point.
Any thoughts
total?
Any thoughts on who to maybe look at to get a little bit different, get some leverage on the field?
I mean, Gabriel Davis is always a chance. He's always a chance for a touchdown. So I don't mind that. Jeremy McNichols, though, on the other side, especially if Julio Jones doesn't play, Jeremy McNichols is a guy that's going to catch passes from the backfield for Tennessee. So I don't mind that either. I mean, then you could take a punt on Singletary or Moss to potentially fall into the end zone as well. So watch for those two. There you go. That's all the games, Arch.
That is. We did
it. We've cracked an hour here. Are we going to do that extra thing that we talked about?
Oh, it won't take very long, will it?
All right, let's build a cash lineup. Let's do it.
I thought, no, are we doing a cash or GPP?
Oh, let's do GPP. That's right, we're going to do a stack.
That's more fun, isn't it?
It is more fun. Everyone loves to win a GPP, so let's see if we can put one in. I think Arch will take care of this one. So what are we going to go? We're going to focus on that Washington, Kansas City game.
Well, yeah, I think we sort of like the idea of that Mahomes, a Mahomes stack there. I think there's lots of points to be had, especially if the Kansas defense doesn't show up and we get a real back and forth type setup. So
for sure,
if we start with Mahomes,
I think you have to go Kelsey then, based on what we were saying about the tight ends. Like, surely he's the guy that we're going to pair him with here.
Okay.
So let's do that.
And I think you have to go McLaurin though, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, Antonio Gibson keeps finding the end zone here, and Kansas City are really rubbish, really rubbish against the run. So I don't mind going Antonio Gibson here. Like he's a
instead of a McLaurin.
Yeah, instead of a McLaurin. But again, like we're saying, is if they're going to have to catch and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. What would you go? McLaurin's your favorite, obviously more than Gibson.
Well, I mean, you look at his season, he's very up and down, and I think this is the classic chance where there's not too many other options out there for Heineke to throw to. And just Gibson hasn't, I mean, he might have got to the end zone, but he hasn't really been, like, I don't think you're going to get that explosion, a 40-point type performance that potentially McLaurin, hits if he gets 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
It's true. All right, let's go McLaurin. Chuck him in. Now, we were talking before about some of these 6K running back plays, and Darrell Henderson against the Giants, safe, I feel, with the potential to fall into the end zone two times, really.
Yes, that's right.
Like this is like they're going to slow it down against the Giants because they're going to win pretty comfortably. Darrell Henderson will take a bunch. Sony Michel's one to watch out for, but I get the vibe that Darrell Henderson is definitely the one who's going to just own this backfield after recovering from that injury.
Well, Michel, he only came on for a little bit when there was talk of injury, but then it's the Henderson show. What do you think about a Darrell Henderson to pair with Mahomes and Kelsey? Do you see that working okay?
I mean, what do you mean? As in that not in part of the same game? I mean,
sorry, what did I say? Did I say Henderson?
You said Henderson.
I meant Williams. Sorry. It's for the Darrell show.
I was confusing.
Sorry.
Darrell Williams, I mean, he's cheap. 4,900's very solid. He's going to get work. I don't know about Jerick McKinnon and what he's going to do. Some people on the socials are gearing up for McKinnon. I just can't see it.
They're the people who have gone for McKinnon forever, haven't they?
There's some truth out there. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't mind it. I think if we're going to see a really high point total here, then you can play the running back. I always love. I don't mind ever playing say Herbert with Eckler with Williams or something like that. So I don't see why the same logic can't apply here. That's for sure.
Yeah. My only other thought maybe a Josh Jacobs would get really different where he would be pretty lowly owned, but I think when he's a whole $1,000 more than Darrell Williams, I don't think it's worth it.
No, I can't afford that either. Let's look at the wide receivers here. What game should we be focusing in on here? Do you want to look at the Chargers-Baltimore game? You've got Marquise Brown there, obviously only at 5,900, which is very, very tempting for me. I really like Marquise Brown, and then we could run that back with, I don't know how much we got here. We got remaining salary. We got 10K, 3.6 per player.
Do you want to put in a defense so we sort of know a bit more how we're sort of sitting?
Yeah, let's look at the defenses here. I mean, bottom of the barrel, what have we got? Washington, obviously. Then the Lions against Cincinnati. You got Texans against Indianapolis. Ravens against the Chargers. Giants against the Rams. Oh, it's a tricky one down there. I mean, it's all so closely priced. So,
no, I think potentially you could look at maybe the Texans. Maybe that they could.
I think the Colts are the most fragile offense out of all those offenses that the defenses are facing down there. So I don't mind that.
Otherwise, you pay up for maybe a Cardinals maybe against Cleveland.
Nah, I can't I can't bet against Chubb and Hunt and what they're doing on the ground and putting out points. So no, I don't mind the Texans. That's a scary thing to say. Let's put them in.
But at the price, you do it so it doesn't matter too much.
That's it. I think they're unlikely to get you negative points.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz can make some very bad errors.
Yes.
So I'm happy to push that. All right, we've got 2 spots. We've got 4.3K left on average. Where are you looking here, Arch? You want to condense around that Chargers-Baltimore game because we got Marquise Brown, or do you want to see who the cheapie is that we want to throw in there to kind of?
Yeah.
It's kind of two cheaper guys here. We can't really go too crazy with it.
I mean, we could go somewhere in the mid fives and then a real cheapie. So potentially, if you think Kadarius Toney gets there, when we've got already a piece of that game in Henderson.
That's true. I don't mind that.
That could work.
We could roll with
that. Keenan Allen, we probably just can't fit in, can we?
No, I don't think we can. Where is he? 6.4.
Leaves us 2-2.
Let's avoid that. Tony's 5'6". I mean, that's still a little bit scary there to play around with.
$3,000. Jeez.
You're looking at basement price wide receivers there. You can't even get John Ross if you go on Kadarius Toney there.
Right,
we'll have to pivot off of that one.
That's scary. I reckon it's a tough slate here, especially because we're looking at this is an expensive stack with the Mahomes, Kelsey, McLaurin. That's where our salary is going, isn't it?
To make it cheap, can you go double tight end?
Yeah.
If we're going Kelsey here, could you throw in Ricky Seals-Jones at $3,000? I mean, we're probably buying too much into the Kansas City-Washington game there.
Yeah, that's. I think. Well, but I mean, it's a condensed slate, so potentially you could get away with it.
Possible.
Wow, really go down there.
You can.
Where's
you
the
can really
search?
go down there.
Seals.
Obviously, you play Kelsey in the flex instead, but whatever.
Yeah,
it's a bit ugly, really.
I don't like it.
No, but that's what we're kind of staring down the barrel at. I mean, unless we have to move on, like Marquise Brown, making him a little bit cheaper than someone else.
Yeah, we could go that, or potentially look at one of the other cheaper running backs. Maybe a Devontae Booker instead of Henderson.
I mean, what he's saving $600 there. That's not too bad.
What is Booker?
Booker's $5,400. Moved down a little bit there.
Yeah, it's probably not quite enough savings, is it, to make it worth it?
Yeah, it doesn't feel it. That's for sure. This is the issue, isn't it, guys? When you're looking at a Kansas City stack, you bring it back with Terry McLaurin. It's so much cash that you're spending on that stack. So it's a tricky situation.
What about a Campbell? I didn't mind Campbell. What do you think about? Well, that sort of goes against our defense, though.
That's true.
We can change our defense.
Yeah, we can change our defense. I don't mind that. Yeah, all right. Chucking Campbell. Then what do we got? We got 5,200 to play with. We could even bring in a. What about the Panthers D against the Minnesota Vikings?
All right, 4,500. What do we got? What can we do?
Lev Bell? Yeah, no thanks. Oh, it's still a little bit ugly, isn't it?
I mean, unless you could go a Mooney, or a Hardman.
I mean, you could double. That's four players from the same team there.
Yes.
You're going to roll with that.
I mean, it's the biggest over-under, though, on the slate. So
sure, I mean, you're getting different, aren't you? You really are, if you're playing that. So Miko Hardman's there. Amon-Ra St. Brown is there. You've got... Then we've hit all those 4K groups. I don't know. Let's chuck in... What do you think? Amon-Ra or Miko?
For me, it's Mooney, Hardman, or Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, okay. And let's be honest, I don't like the Chicago Bears to be thrown too much, so you have to hit on that. Amon-Ra, they're gonna have to find him. If TJ Hockenson especially is not doing too much, so
yeah,
there's a shot there. Look, I don't love it, Arch, but for building a lineup in about 10 minutes, it's okay.
That's right. With two people going against each other.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. Maybe we won't do this again. I don't know. We'll see.
Next time I'll bring the stack.
Yeah. Maybe we'll work it out beforehand.
Oh yeah, that's a good
idea. There's still, I think, there's
potential
in that lineup, and I think it's probably a little bit unique. So
yeah, no, I don't mind that. All right, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. I'm sure if you're listening on the podcast, then you might want to jump onto YouTube to see us build that GPP lineup instead of just listening to it. But anyway, we have appreciated you joining on. Thank you so much, Arch. May you succeed in Week 6 DFS and all your redraft leagues, of course.
And let's hope my alarm goes off this week. So, yeah.
Indeed. All right, everyone. Thanks once again for tuning in. You can catch us on our socials. We have a Patreon, which is a Discord, and we want to
get on the Discord.
That's it. It's $2 Australian a month. That's pittance.
Nothing.
And of course, hit up our DraftKings referral, dkng.co/TFL. That helps the pod as well. Thank you very much, and enjoy Week 6 of the NFL.